Okay, so a bunch of you guys were asking for a tutorial on the power rear glass for the FJ, so here it is. Normally, you gotta put your key in here, turn it, hold it, window opens, now you manually lift it, right? So as you can see, the window is closed. I'll show you the function of this system in a couple minutes. So what I did was I installed a button and a switch that basically they basically automate the rear window. So I got this actuator, I mounted it, took hardly any modification. The bracket mounted directly to where the upper strut bracket mounts, so I didn't have to drill the holes out or widen anything. The only thing I did was put a little spacer behind it. It's a piece of butyl tape like this, sound deadener pad. All you really need is a little tension on there so that these are held flush to the glass, otherwise you'll get water leaks. So yeah, that's the upper bracket. And then the lower bracket, basically you need to cut these little grooves out of it, because when you get it, it's gonna look like that. It's the same exact bracket. So you'll have to cut these grooves out because you need this to be able to tilt forward. As the window opens, the actuator is gonna do this, and then it's gonna go back up. So it needs to be able to tilt forward, and the bracket doesn't allow enough space for that originally. So I cut these grooves out so it has full range of motion. And originally I had a higher weight capacity actuator that was much slower than this one, so now I've swapped that out. This one is considerably shorter. So originally I had this hole down here, if I could get it to focus, whatever. This bracket was mounted down here before, this bolt down there. This one's much shorter, so I had to go up here, and basically I ran out of space because this doesn't get a lot like taller than this. So I just chopped a little bit out to make room for that bolt. And then I put this metal bracket, I guess, that's hooked around the bottom, and the bolt goes through it. And so my thinking was that essentially this should stop it from going up, so the window won't be able to pull the bracket off of the OEM strut mount, and it works, so I'm happy with it. It doesn't have that much weight on it, so I'm not really that concerned. I think that that's enough. And you could also drill a hole back here to make space for that bolt. I don't really care about the dent, but it is going to dent it a little bit if you use this actuator. Otherwise you have to drill a hole like I did for the original one, and I don't love that hole, but it's there and it is what it is. So let's move on to the open close switch. So the open close switch goes into the back of the lock cylinder. I have it tied into my black negative line and the green positive line. The red line I did tie it into, but it didn't work, so I put it back together. But with it tied into the black and green lines, your momentary switch will function exactly the same as the key in the lock cylinder. And so I've got all my wires going through here, and they go through the OEM loom, which is a massive pain in the ass to get them through, but I think it's worth it, because otherwise you're gonna have wires going across the door jamb, and that's just ugly. So the way you make that happen is you unplug your washer nozzle, and you're gonna wanna feed all the wires that are going to the front of your car. You wanna feed them all through the hole here, through that hole, and out here, right? And you're gonna take your OEM loom, and you're gonna basically just pull it through all of this, and then you'll get the wires to go through the loom. And so the way I did that, I took this coat hanger and I mostly straightened it out, and then at the end I twisted this around my harness of wires here, and I just pulled it through the loom. And so this is obviously put back together, and I'm not going to take it apart, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say. It's kind of a pain in the ass to get them through that loom, but it is worth it. And so then they go back here, they go through the quarter and down there and all that. And then we'll go to the front of the car. Actually, we'll close this up real quick. So my wire harness comes out over here, and what I tried to do was put some protectors where it's going to be touching metal, and obviously I messed that up a little bit, so I'm going to adjust that so it's a little longer. But you know, you don't want wires rubbing on metal for a long period of time because you can eventually fray them and possibly short out your unit. So basically my wires go all the way here, and then they go up under the dash, and I fed them behind the fuse box and up through here. Okay, so here, the modifications I had to make, I cut a little bit of this plastic out of the dash to accommodate these wires here, and then drill a hole for your momentary switch, drill a hole for your up-down switch. Okay, so the switches are pretty simple, really. This yellow line is my positive from the battery, the red line is positive to the motor. Black line here, negative from the battery, black line with white tape, negative to the motor. Okay, and then the momentary switch, it doesn't matter which one is positive or negative because it's literally just completing a circuit, so it doesn't matter. You can feed it in however you want. But let me show you the function of this. So come in here, our window is closed and latched currently. So you go here, you press and hold this button. Okay, so the window's unlatched, and then to make it go up, you just flip that up. And so it'll raise it all the way up to about 2 inches below OEM height. And I like this actuator a lot more because it's considerably faster than the one that I had originally. But it's up to you which one you want to use. It'll bring it all the way closed, but it won't fully latch it. So let me show you. You go back here. It's gonna hold it pretty tight. You can open it, I don't know, an inch maybe, but you can't really open it. And if you want to close it, you just do that. Now it's latched and closed again. So open, unlock, bring it up, no problems. And then I'll show you the wiring going to the battery, and that's really about all there is to this job. So I got my wiring going through the OEM harness in the firewall. I just cut a little hole in it. I also have my amplifier wire back here, so I had done that already, so I just kind of fed these wires through that hole. I put a 10 amp inline fuse. I don't know exactly what the amperage rating is for the motor, but this seems to function, and honestly, if it burns out, the motor was like $40 something. It's not a big deal if I have to replace it. Beyond that, we just tie them straight into the posts, and that's it. I didn't expect it to be raining like this. Didn't want my hood open for that. But anyways, that's it. That's the whole thing. It's overall, it's pretty simple. You don't have to do much to make it work. I think that you could even get away with not cutting the brackets, but this is why I cut them, because right now you can kind of see, if I could get it to focus, it's below where that like level line would have been. So this bracket would have been right there, and this is slightly below it now. So you want to have that space in there, but I think it would still function even if it couldn't bend down all the way. And yeah, that's it. That's all there is to it. It's very simple. It took me about 4 hours to put it together the first time, and then I just redid the whole thing. My original wires were kind of choppy. I had run out of wires, so I had to splice shit in there. So I just put all fresh wires in it, running all the way to the front of the car. And yeah, the faster actuator seems to be very functional, and I'm very happy with it. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'm happy to help anybody that's trying to make this happen on their rig. All right.